I wonder if you could finally comment on the role of experience, because one of the things we focus on in this subject is the tendency of people who are new to a position or a role to follow the rules, the standard operating guidelines, the prescription that you're given fairly closely, and then there's a fair amount of research to show that more expert and experienced decision makers have to some extent imbibed those organisational mores and are working from a different point. Wondering if you could comment on that.
It's a very good point, because there's two parts of it. One is that experience is the best teacher. So I mentioned earlier, you cannot write a manual and you cannot write detailed policies around events of nature, or human behaviour for that matter. But you have to have some sort of guideline. I think there are minuses and pluses as we go through this, because some people, as they get familiar with it and get experience with it, forget what the original guidelines and original policies were, and get used to a behavioural pattern that's quite distant from the guideline. The thing to remember there is that if an inquiry comes along sometime later to look at the decisions you made, and the principles are neatly set out, but over the course of a 20-year career or a 25-year career you've actually drifted over one side of it, then they'll say, well, why aren't you performing in accordance with your own rules and your own guidelines? Equally, people starting off, they have to have somewhere to start. So the principles and the rules and the guidelines are the best place. What I think departments are getting much better at evolving their guidelines and their principles because of the changing nature of the environment, the changing nature of technology. So those things that have been done today aren't being done the same way they were being done 5 or 10 years ago. The important thing is, and this really is through education, is to maintain a level of currency that equates to the challenges that you're likely to confront. The other aspect of this is mission creep. Over a period of time, people start to do things that were not part of their original brief, and so they creep into another role or another agency's role, and it's important that that's kept in check, because there's a limited amount of resource going into agencies, and they're expected to perform on the resources that are allocated to them. And if you're not careful, you'll end up starting to do things that you weren't really originally set up to do without having been given the resources to do it. And so when the crunch comes and you start losing resources, then it impacts on performance. So for managers and supervisors, it's important to have that set of original guidelines and work out how best to keep to them if you've strayed from them. And the final point I'd make on this is, and it gets back to your point about young people or new people to an organisation tend to stick to the rules because they haven't had the experience yet. And in firefighting it might be you only have one fire every couple of years or whatever, so you don't necessarily get the experience. The important thing there is to learn from debriefs, within the organisational structure, have a structured learning outcome for when operations occur, so that everybody understands what decisions were made, why they were made, and while you won't get the experience of having been there on the spot, you'll still get the understanding about the rationale behind decisions that were being made.
Well, Mick, that was really informative. Thank you. And I'm sure that what you've shared today is going to greatly benefit our students, especially in their assignment writing. Thank you.